Hello. A week ago I recorded a little video called 5 Tips for New Gardeners, and the idea was it's 5 things that I wish I'd known when I was a young gardener starting out gardening. So I put together five nuggets which people seem to have enjoyed actually. I've had a lot of feedback, all of it positive, so thanks very much. Now, one problem with recording something called 5 tips is that as soon as you get home you've thought of another 5. So, well, unfortunately, you can't go back and rename something 10 tips. That doesn't work. I can see 15 tips coming on this rate. But here is another 5 tips for new gardeners. Another 5 things I wish I'd known when I was starting out gardening. Tip number 6. When you take on a new area of land, and in the case of allotments like you have here, a very good example, it's often overgrown. And when you look in the manuals how to prepare a new plot or revive an old neglected one, they don't often cover the scenario where there's weeds higher than you are and great roots and piles of stuff. Inevitably the picture in the book, if you no-dig, is a nice bit of lawn and you put your cardboard on it and you put your compost on top of that. The grass underneath dies down and everything's great. Or if you're digging, again the picture will be a nice looking piece of grass, and you carefully cut the turfs off, put them on one side, dig, incorporating the turfs, often double dig, and everything goes back and it suddenly looks beautiful. So the reality can often be quite different. When I took this allotment on a few years ago, it was absolutely overgrown. It had been neglected for a couple of years and there was stuff everywhere. It just didn't look like the books. And what I've learned, because I've done several plots like this, is you really can destroy your back and almost destroy your sanity trying to dig all the roots and the plants and everything out of an old neglected plot. There is a much easier way of doing it, which I did here. Fortunately, it worked out well in this particular case because we were given the allotment plot in September, and I didn't really plan to plant anything out until the following March. So I knew I had a good few months in which to play with. And I thought, well, I can spend all that time digging the weeds out, or I can get smart. And I did what I'd experimented with before, and it really worked well. I gathered tarpaulins. I've done building works in the past. So I had a good supply of waterproof and lightproof, dark coloured, it's an important thing, tarpaulins. And I spread them all over everything, weighted them down with bricks, and left it for 6 months. When I came back, 90% of the weeds, or the plants, were dead. So all I had to do really was rake up all the dead material, and the roots underneath were also dying as well, leaving me with just a few tough bits of bramble that hadn't quite died. Well, they could be dug out quite easily. So what could really have taken me days, even weeks of hard digging throughout the winter to get all this stuff out was completely cured by just killing the stuff from the top. So this is my tip, which I definitely give to anyone that's got a big area of land to bring into cultivation. They're looking at it and going, oh dear. Cover it down with tarpaulins, anything that, it doesn't have to be tough, anything that will exclude the light. I mean, weed prevention membrane is another ideal material. It's a shame you have to buy it, you might be able to scrounge some from somewhere. I've known people use old carpet as well. It's not a trick that's unique to me, I've seen it before. Be careful if you do use carpet though, because if it's foam backed, the foam tends to come off, ends up in the soil, and you've got a right mess. But with that proviso, anything that will exclude the light that you can roll down, obviously weight it down with bricks because the wind can take these things off. And come along 6 months later, if you've got longer than that, leave it a year and everything underneath will be dead. And then you're dead, and then you've got something that you can just go straight away with your preferred cultivation method, dig, no dig or whatever, without the effort. Tip number 7, grow what works for you. If you look in a gardening book, you'll find quite a range of what you might call standard vegetables: potatoes, onions, cauliflowers, swedes, cabbages, all that kind of stuff. And you end up, so right, well, start at the top of the list, you plant everything out, and that's your standard kit. But what you'll find is that not every type of vegetable or every type of fruit and vegetable or fruit vegetable salad, if you want to be specific, works in every location, every type of soil and every solar aspect. Some things will inevitably do better than others. And I've really struggled thinking that I should be growing things when they just don't seem to want to grow for me. And you spend, I've just spent year after year trying to persuade stuff to grow. A good example, and one that is pertinent to this plot, is onions. I can't grow onions in this soil. Neither can any of the other allotment plots around me. That applies for spring onions and shallots, and the smaller bulbs of garlic. I can grow elephant garlic here. Now we have a resident fungus which rots out the onions in the summertime. When the weather warms up, you get this fungal growth around the roots. The tops go yellow and die off. And I just can't get on top of it. There's no organic way of curing this allium rot. So I've just given up. I buy onions in the supermarket. I buy organic onions. It's a bit painful and galling, but I have to because it's just a waste of time. Other variations. This heavy Cornish soil is superb for cabbages. It grows anything to do with brassicas wonderfully. So I grow a lot of them. Other things, certain types of potatoes, stuff that doesn't like a wet clay soil, just don't do so well here. I've struggled to establish fruit here. Actually, I've just planted raspberries for the third time last year, and I'm looking at them now. They haven't come up, so I'm not going to bother with those again. And you can really waste a lot of time trying to grow things that you think you ought to be growing, but for whatever reason, it's usually a locale issue. It's something specific to your soil or whatever. It just doesn't work. Don't bother. If you've put something in and it doesn't come up very well, and you think, well, I've done everything by the book, but it's not working for me, strike it off the list. Concentrate on the things that do work. It is a real time saver. It will save you a lot of pain, a lot of aggro. Tip number 8. Write down every variety when you plant it. Everything grows in slightly different varieties. Everything is grown in slightly different varieties. You have different types of cabbages, and it can be quite bewildering when you're looking at all the rows of seeds. You think, crikey, there's 10 different types of spring cabbage. Which one do I choose? Sweet corn or whatever. And I inevitably just picked a nose. I try and look things up in books, but you sometimes get to garden centre, you've forgotten your book or you've forgotten your list, and I'll have that one, give that a go. And you plant away, and the next year you might have the same varieties, it might be different ones. And what you'll find is something that's happened to me multiple times in my life. You grow something, sweet corn's a good example of this. They're very, very different levels of sweetness depending on the different variety. And you say, oh, this isn't as good as the one we had last year. What was the one we planted last year? And you go rummaging in your shed for your seed packet. Of course, the snails have eaten the writing off the front. You can't see what the variety is, or even worse, it's something that you grew 2 summers ago and you've completely lost it. I can't remember 2 years ago. You get to my age, I can't remember what I did last week, so never mind what I planted a year ago. And this has happened time and again. I've tried to go back to things and I've forgotten what I planted. And variety selection, and knowing the varieties that are right for you, right for your soil, and suit your way of cooking, is very, very important. So if you've got a written record, and it just be a notebook somewhere in your shed or something like that, the variety you planted in each season, and you can go back several years, you'll always be able to say, that's the one I should be planting, and go forward from there. I've got a list now of favourite varieties, and I write everything down carefully, but it's a list that's been won from bitter experience, and I still can't remember that wonderful sweet corn I grew 5 years ago, but can't find again. Tip number 9. Always water your compost. When your compost is in the bin, it can dry out, particularly with a little bin like this, and you don't immediately notice because you put wet stuff on top and you think, oh, the stuff underneath must be wet as well. In reality, it often dries out, and the further down you go, the drier it can get. So it's more of a problem with a little bin than a big bin, but what I do, whenever I'm watering my plants, I also give the compost a little dribble. If you do it at the same time, it's no hassle, and just do that. Make sure it's it's always damp. And if you water it at the same time as you're watering your plants, you'll be watering it during the dry season. So so that'll work out about right. Yes, I know you can overwater compost, but the consequences of it being too wet and taking a while to work are far milder than it not working at all, because it's just dry and straw in the bottom. Tip number 10. This is a bit of a sad one. Be very careful when netting. This is the netting, we all use it. It mainly to keep birds off strawberries, fruit, blueberries, sometimes off cabbages and things like that, if it's young plants. And I've been using it for years. You just put it over things unthinkingly. And I've had a couple of instances where I'm not that I don't use this stuff, I have to be very, very careful with it now. Because if it's draped over a plant, birds can get tangled up in it. And it was 3 years ago, I'd put this over some blueberry bushes that were being eaten. I came out the next morning and there was a blackbird, dead, hanging in the wire, as it were. It had got caught up, strangled itself and died. And several times I've had to rescue birds as well from inside impromptu netting enclosures. It's not a nice thing to see. What I use instead, and you can probably see it behind me, is the fine mesh netting. The light can still get through. It's a perfectly good substitute for this, but it's too fine for the birds to get tangled up in it. So either be very, very careful when using this and make sure there's no hanging down loops that they can go like that in, or don't use it at all.